When I woke up, I had gone from the patriarch of a four-generation household back to the handsome young man from the production team. Feeling my eight-pack abs, I grinned so wide the corners of my mouth nearly reached my ears. In my previous life, I drove tractors and went into business. In this life, I had just been reborn when I heard my sister-in-law arguing with my elder brother because the family could barely afford to eat. And I was figuring out how to take over the brick kiln at the entrance of the village, the one that would become a gold mine next year. In Guangzhou in '79, even the wind was warm. It had just reached great heat, not yet entered the dog days. But the sun was already as vicious as a soured dog's face, and the heat like a steamer just put on the boil. I loosened the collar of my Dacron shirt. This thing was practical, but it didn't breathe. And after wearing it for a long time, it got all sticky and trapped a whole body of sweat. Jianghe, don't just stand there in a daze. The heat's made you stupid, huh? Hurry up and drink some water. A crisp voice came from behind me. I turned my head and saw Chen Jianghe, a female commune member from the production team, wearing a straw hat and beckoning to me with a water ladle in her hands. The heat had steamed her face rosy red. I took the ladle and tipped my head back, gulping it down to the last drop. The icy well water flowed into my stomach, and my whole body felt utterly refreshed. I couldn't help but shiver. Ah, that hits the spot. Thanks, Sister Jianghe. The water you bring tastes sweeter than anyone else's. But speaking of which, you're bringing me water. Aren't you afraid your man will come at me with a cleaver? Brother Gotzi gets terribly jealous. He reeks of vinegar all day long. Li Chuanhong's face turned even redder. She put her hands on her hips and glared. He wouldn't dare. With her two pale arms akimbo, she looked every bit the fiery shrew. The production team members around us began to hoot. Sister Jianghe, I want to drink the water you bring too. I swear I won't tell Brother Gotzi. Wolf whistles rang out without end. There wasn't much to amuse people during collective labor. Li Chuanhong is the village beauty, about to be stuck into that lump of cow dung Zhang Gotzi. But when men and women work together, the work feels lighter, so everyone is happy to tease a little for fun. The women of Guangzhou have always been fiery. Li Chuanhong glared with her almond eyes. I'm willing to bring water to Chen Jianghe. If you want a drink, go home and find your mother. If you knew how to drive a tractor, I'd bring water to you too from now on. Everyone burst into laughter. Even the ones who got snapped at weren't annoyed. They just grinned it off. Chen Jianghe, who had returned from the city, had a high school education and also knew how to drive a walking tractor. Though he had done something outrageous the other day, he really was still a hot commodity, impossible to compare with. I chuckled, not feeling superior at all. If I remember correctly, this collective labor model of the production team would be officially dismantled next year. The country's reform and opening up was imminent, and it was about to get onto the fast track of rapid development. My skill at driving a tractor wouldn't be sought after for much longer. Who could have imagined that teachers and truck drivers, who were still in demand in these first couple of years, would be on the decline in another couple of years, while the self-employed, whom everyone was condemning now, would become the hot commodity. 79. I don't know why, but after one sleep, I woke up back in the longed-for year 79. In my previous life, 4 generations of my family lived under one roof, and I lived to well past 70 without illness or disaster. I fell sideways off a stool while changing a light bulb, hit the back of a chair, and was gone, without much pain. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the present. I'll just take it as a favor for being young again. I patted my sharply defined 8-pack abs and grinned from ear to ear. This was my second year back in the village after returning from the city, and with my high school diploma, I had learned to drive a hand-crank tractor from an experienced master. This thing doesn't require much skill. Even a kid could fiddle with it for a couple of days and figure out most of it. But right now, driving a tractor is considered skilled work, and I earn 2 more work points per shift than an ordinary team member. In 79, a strong laborer earned 10 work points a day, and each work point was worth 0.10 yuan. That meant I earned 0.20 yuan more a day than others. But I understood that these good times would be over by next year. I don't plan to drive a tractor for the rest of my life, either. In just these 2 months, a certain production team member who became a 10,000 yuan household through farming and submitting articles is about to make the front page headlines. The impact of the first 10,000 yuan household will greatly ignite enthusiasm for going into business. In my previous life, it was also because of this that I resolutely went into business, though I ended up battered and bruised. But I still managed to complete my initial capital accumulation, which led to the smooth sailing life that came later. Now that I've started over, I don't intend to walk the old path again. As for what I want to do, I haven't figured it out for the moment. Jianghe heading off now. I smiled in response to everyone who greeted me. Some people left a deep impression, while others had long since been forgotten in the river of history. I drove the tractor into the village collective courtyard, signed off on the work, and the accountant recorded my 12 work points for today. Only then did I slowly head home. The old Chen family lived at the north end of the village, in an old Yaodong cave dwelling they had occupied for more than 10 years. I had an elder brother above me, who actually wasn't a local. He was one of the educated youth sent down to the countryside to support the Great Northwest. My older brother is named Chen Jianghe. He stayed on in Guangzhou after the educated youth movement and married a woman from the same village, and they had 2 children. By the time I reached the entrance of the cave dwelling, dusk had already fallen. Outside the fence by the doorway, 2 little heads were squeezed together, hopping through hopscotch. It was one of the few games rural children, lacking entertainment, could play. When I saw the 2 children, I froze for a moment. The older one was a girl, 7 or 8 years old. The younger was a boy, about 3 or 4. The 2 were playing with great relish. When they looked up and saw me watching them, the girl grinned. "Second dad, why are you only just getting back?" I burst out laughing and squatted down between them. These 2 were both my brother and sister-in-law's children. The girl was called Chen Jianghe, and the boy was called Chen Dongdong. The old Chen family's parents had died young, and by our generation, only the 2 brothers were left to depend on each other. My older brother was about 6 years older than me, and we had always gotten along well since childhood. Logically speaking, once the eldest got married, he should have set up his own household and split off from the family. Back then, I had brought it up too. After all, the 2 brothers had always lived together. It was fine for family, but I was afraid the new sister-in-law might overthink it. Unexpectedly, the moment I raised the subject, my older brother shot it down. I grew up following my older brother from childhood, and we were very close. By extension, I had been good to Chen Jianghe and Chen Dongdong since they were little. Later, Chen Jianghe married into the neighboring village and lived a prosperous life. Chen Dongdong was a worrywart. By then I had already made a fortune, so I brought him into my company and trained him as my heir, and he was doing fairly well. "Why aren't you 2 going inside, feeding the mosquitoes out here?" Chen Dongdong was younger and didn't say anything. My eldest niece curled her lips. "What else could we do? We just don't want to listen to my dad and mom arguing." "Second uncle, talk to my dad. They argue all day long, no matter whether us kids can stand it or not. Don't talk about your dad like that." I smiled and flicked Chen Jianghe on the forehead. Turning my head, I looked toward the courtyard. The light was on in the west room, and bursts of arguing came intermittently. Why can't I say it? When will this kind of life ever end? I didn't even try to drive second brother out. I just want to renovate the house. What's wrong with that? Look around. Whose family in the whole village still lives in this old mud brick house? You say second brother is old enough and needs to get married, but you can't just clutch the money like that. Do you still have these 2 kids of ours in your heart? I said I don't agree. Mom and dad died young, and now it's just me and second brother relying on each other. He's almost 24. Shouldn't he be getting a wife? Can't people live in a mud brick house? As long as I'm the eldest for a day, I'm the eldest for life. As long as second brother doesn't get married, this family can't split up. That's what I say. Why should whatever you say go? It's been so long since our family had any meat. The arguing was loud. My brother and sister-in-law were both truly angry. The moment I heard it, I knew what they were arguing about. Nothing more than me, this burden. The mud brick house left behind by our parents, who died young, was all the family had. It was fine before my eldest brother got married. The eldest lived in the west room, and I kept to the east room, so it was just enough for us all to stay there. But as Chen Jianghe got married and had children, and the kids grew older, the west room was no longer enough. And with Chen near growing up, it was even more inconvenient. Sister-in-law Lu Huizhuan's request was quite simple: to expand the adobe house so the family could live more spaciously, and ideally Near could have a room of her own. But my elder brother was unwilling. With one line, my younger brother isn't married yet. The money we've saved has to be kept for his bride price. He shut it down. I remember clearly that because of this, my brother and sister-in-law almost ended up divorcing. In my previous life, I was young and ignorant, and I even resented my sister-in-law for a while because of this. But now, those conflicts have long since vanished into the long river of history. I sincerely respect my sharp-tongued but soft-hearted sister-in-law. As I was mulling it over, the door curtain was lifted, and a farmer walked out. In his 40s, his skin darkened by the Guangzhou sun. He was clearly only 6 years older than me, yet his face made him look 10 years older than his actual age. Behind him followed an ordinary-looking, plain woman. I froze for a moment, not expecting my brother and sister-in-law to come out so suddenly. It was too late to hide. "So, second brother, you're back." My sister-in-law looked rather embarrassed. The 2 of them hadn't been speaking quietly, and they hadn't avoided saying it in front of the child either. Even a fool would know that what they'd just said had probably reached my ears. Gossiping about someone behind their back and having the person in question hear it on the spot. No matter how thick-skinned you are, you can't help but blush with embarrassment. Big brother glared at his wife, then walked over. Second brother, don't overthink it. Your sister-in-law doesn't mean any harm. We were just bickering a little as husband and wife. Your sister-in-law is just a bit loose-tongued. Don't hold it against her, we're all family. After saying that, he even tugged Lu Huiwan and told her to apologize. Brother, I'm fine. I shook my head with a smile. I truly didn't take it to heart. If my former self had heard those words, I probably would have gotten upset inside. But now I'm not the reckless young man I used to be, ignorant and immature. I know perfectly well who treats me well and who doesn't. Time has long since proven everything, so there's no way I could be angry with my sister-in-law. No, brother, having sister-in-law apologize to me would just embarrass me, wouldn't it? Don't worry. Even though I heard what was said, I can't take this to heart. Actually, I think sister-in-law is quite right. I'm still young. I'm not at the point where I can't find a wife. I have my own emotional ideals too. So brother, you mustn't play the old-fashioned matchmaker and arrange a marriage for me. We're real brothers, but even real brothers should keep accounts clear. I'm not in a hurry to get married. What sister-in-law said is right too. This old earthen house of ours should have been torn down and rebuilt long ago. And Iyer is already 8 years old. In another 2 years, it'll be very inconvenient. After I finished speaking, my brother and sister-in-law looked at each other, both completely dumbfounded. They never would have imagined that such considerate words could come from the second brother's mouth. What kind of person am I? No one knows better than them, as my elder brother and sister-in-law. Usually, even if the soy sauce bottle on the kitchen stove fell over at home, I wouldn't bother to pick it up, a typical kid who hadn't grown up. Hearing this now, Lu Huiwan felt even more ashamed. Second brother, don't talk nonsense. How can you not get married? Big brother immediately glared. But he also knew that as his daughter grew older, it was already very inconvenient, and the adobe house was too cramped to live in. But he hadn't yet figured out how to renovate the house, so he could only say he would discuss it with his wife later, and that was the end of it. I had originally wanted to hint to Big Brother about the production team breaking up, but it wasn't a good time, so after thinking it over, I let it go. After my brother and sister-in-law went inside, I shook my head. Getting a second chance at life? I can't live by mooching off my elder brother and sister-in-law like I did in my previous life. After the production team disbanded in my previous life, I was unemployed for a while and really became quite a burden on my elder brother. My elder brother never said this, but as his younger brother, I can't pretend it never happened. Suddenly, my gaze fell on my niece. Girl, I heard from your dad that our family hasn't eaten meat in a long time. Chen Jianghe glanced at me in surprise, thinking, how long has it been since our family had meat? How could you not know? Big brother had always been frugal, and he was bent on finding me a wife, so there had long been no meat in the house. At the thought of this, Chen Jianghe even looked a bit resentful. She gave a soft in acknowledgement and said nothing. Only then did I belatedly realize that this situation was probably related to me. People say the eldest brother is like a father and the eldest brother's wife is like a mother. My brother and sister-in-law were truly good to me. Later, Big brother really did arrange a marriage for me, with a woman from the neighboring village. It was all for that bride price. Big brother had to provide for the whole family's daily needs while also worrying about scraping together my bride price. So he had no choice but to go hunting in the mountains in the freezing snow and ice. But he had bad luck and got his leg broken by a wild boar. To save money, he stubbornly endured it and didn't go to the hospital, leaving him disabled for half his life. Back then I couldn't think that far ahead, nor could I appreciate how hard it was for Big brother as the head of the household. Now that I've been given a second chance, no matter what, I can't let the tragedy happen again. Near, tell second dad, do you want to eat meat? Chen Near's eyes lit up at once, and 3-year-old Chen Dongdong beside her also looked up in delight, staring at me eagerly. One look at them, and I knew these siblings must have been craving it badly for a long time. Makes sense. In times like these, saying no child wants to eat meat is pure nonsense. Not to mention the kids. Even I'm short on fat in my diet and craving it badly. I've only been back from rebirth for a few days, and although sister-in-law makes every meal look quite decent, without meat it's still missing that richness. Why did people from the 70s and 80s eat so much? It wasn't because they had big appetites, but because there was no fat in their diet. No matter how many liang of rice, flour, or coarse grains they ate, it still wouldn't fill their stomachs. At most it just made them feel stuffed. I looked up at the sky. The sun was already slanting westward but hadn't set yet, so I darted into the house, and when I came back out, I was clutching the old Lin family's only household appliance, a flashlight. Come with your second dad. Your second dad will take you to find some meat." At those words, Chen Jianghe sprang to her feet, even putting aside the little pig toy she treasured so much. These days, just the mention of meat was enough to make a half-grown child drop everything. 3-year-old Chen Dongdong also looked up eagerly and wanted to come along, but I didn't take him. The kid was only 3 and even walking was a struggle for him. I really was planning to go out and look for meat. So how could I bring a little tag-along? Chen Dongdong burst into tears with a wah, and in the end Chen and I had to step in, bloodline suppression, and only then did the two of them leave the room. Second dad, how are we going to find meat? Chen and I's eyes were full of excitement. I smiled, not really having any plan myself, just treating it as coming out for some air and to poke around a bit. At worst, the 1 yuan in my pocket was enough to buy 2 jin of pork to improve our meals. Halfway down the road, I suddenly asked, have you ever heard of guagua chicken? I have. Second dad, are we going to catch guagua chickens? Can we catch any? Kids who grow up in the fields have only so many forms of entertainment, so guagua chickens are of course no strangers to them. She's also seen other people eat them before, and they say they're really delicious. This thing is a bit bigger than an ordinary sparrow, and it has more than a dozen black stripes on its head. Around here we call it 10 black stripes. It usually appears in the mountains and fields, feeding on grass seeds, tender leaves, and insects. Don't worry, you've got second dad. I smiled, thinking to myself that I was the grandmaster of catching these things. In my previous life, whenever I lacked meat, I relied on catching guagua chickens to improve our meals. Whether it flew in the sky, ran on the ground, or swam in the water, there was nothing I hadn't handled before. After all, before I started driving a tractor, I was also the acknowledged king of the kids in the village. But Chen and I didn't believe it. It wasn't like no one in the village had ever set their sights on guagua chickens, but those things are highly alert. Occasionally, getting lucky and catching one for a meat treat was fine, but if you really try to catch them, I really haven't heard of anyone ever catching one. Don't worry, I've got this. I patted my pants pocket, revealing half a forked branch, with several loops of rubber band wrapped around the outside. Using a hand net is the most practical way to catch guagua chickens, but since this was a spur-of-the-moment idea and we hadn't prepared one, a slingshot would do too. It just tests your aim. A slingshot? Chen and I's eyes lit up. Then she asked suspiciously, will that work? We quickly arrived at our destination, the fields where people worked during the day. It was completely dark now, but I knew this was the best time to catch guagua chickens, with no one around after dark. The best time for guagua chickens to forage. On top of that, the production team had just harvested the wheat, and the fields were scattered with fallen grains everywhere, no less than a feast. Unexpectedly, just as we arrived, a faint rustling sound caught my attention. Second uncle, second uncle. The child had sharp eyes. Chen and also saw several tiny figures not far away by a haystack made of piled wheat stalks. Her eyes widening in delight as she tugged hard at my arm. Such good luck. I smiled, rolled up my sleeves, gave my eldest niece a little tug to calm her down, and quietly edged 2 steps forward. The slingshot band stretched taut. Whoosh! The pebble cut a straight line through the air. Flap, flap. The struck guagua chicken fluttered forward a few times, tilted its head, and fell to the ground. Hit it. Second uncle, you hit it. The little girl sprang up at once, ran over in a few quick steps, and picked up the guagua chicken. It was fat and big, about the same size as the chickens raised at home. Second uncle, this chicken is so fat. At the thought of eating guagua chicken tonight, she was practically drooling. I smiled too. Good thing I didn't screw up. If I'd embarrassed myself in front of my niece, I probably wouldn't have been able to hold my head up for days. Not bad, my skills haven't slipped. Come on, strike while the iron is hot, and catch a few more. Tonight our family will have a good meal. Chen and I nodded excitedly again, and even the way she looked at me had changed. A slingshot can take down guagua chickens. Second uncle is amazing. Little did I know that my image in my niece's heart had undergone an astonishing elevation. At this moment, my heart and eyes were full of the guagua chickens scattered all over the fields. Guagua chickens are at their fattest and tastiest at this time. There will still be some after the weather turns cold a while later. But in winter they survive on grass roots, and the meat turns tough, far less delicious than it is now. Uncle and niece darted quickly through the fields, working in perfect sync. The child had sharp eyes, and my slingshot aim was true. In less than 2 hours, we caught 6 or 7. Even I didn't expect such a haul. Luckily, I was prepared and brought a snakeskin bag from home. Chen and I insisted on carrying it, but 6 or 7 of them were pretty heavy, so I had to take one out and tie up its legs for her to carry. Anyway, I was ruthless with the slingshot, basically killing with one shot. Seeing that it was getting dark, I finally took my niece home. She didn't agree at first, But when she heard my promise to take her fishing next time, she was finally satisfied. By the time we got home, it was completely dark. "Where have you two been fooling around?" Sister-in-law Lu Huiwan came out, and, seeing me and her daughter walking into the yard side by side, looked full of suspicion. She wondered when her daughter had gotten so close to her second uncle. No sooner had the thought crossed her mind than she was immediately drawn to the guagua chickens I was carrying. "Where did these come from?" "Second uncle took me to catch them." Chen and I answered first. Lu Huiwan couldn't help thinking about the argument she'd had with her husband just now, and still felt somewhat embarrassed. Her words must have made the second brother think too much. But it was true that the family couldn't afford meat. Her husband was stingy, clutching the money tightly in his hand, and unwilling to spend even a cent more. It didn't matter if she had no meat in her diet, but the two children, one 8 years old and the other 3. They're right at the age when they're growing, and if they don't eat better, they won't even be as tall as others in the future. "Sister-in-law, I don't know how to prepare this, so I'll have to trouble you to cook it for us." I handed over the croaking chickens. Lu Huiwan took them casually, almost failing to hold them steady. They were really heavy. "You got this many in just a short trip out?" Before I could speak, Chen Jianghe said excitedly. "Second uncle hit every one with his slingshot, 1 shot each. His aim is amazing." A smile appeared on Lu Huiwan's face. With these croaking chickens, the family could count it as having a meat meal. Chen Jianghe was craving it, and shook Lu Huiwan's arm, saying she wanted to eat it tonight. "Okay, I'll get it ready for you now. I'll go boil some water. I'll help tend the fire." Lu Huiwan thought to herself that she knew better than anyone what old second used to be like. He never did anything, much less rushed to take the initiative to do chores. It must have been the argument between her and her husband that had stirred him. She hadn't meant to drive old second away, nor had she meant to touch the money he had saved for a wife. She only wanted to take some money to expand the house. In the end, it all came down to the family being poor. There were too few ways to make money in the countryside, and every day they could only live anxiously on those few work points, not knowing when it would ever end. After a flurry of work, that night the whole family got to eat fragrant croaking chickens. Their stomachs, long deprived of oil and fat, were briefly satisfied. After eating my fill and lying down on the bed, I rested my head on my arm and lay on my back, with a grass root for picking teeth in my mouth. There were earthen walls on all 4 sides in their original state. Though it wasn't as drafty as some people's homes, when it rained, the thatched roof would drip a little rain from time to time, and on heavy rainy days it was heavy rain outside and light rain inside. I swore to change my current life. Having lived a second life, I couldn't live it in vain. I had to go to work in the fields during the day, so there wasn't much time to make money. After pondering for most of the night, I couldn't fight off the drowsiness and fell asleep. Early in the morning after eating my fill, I picked up my straw hat and got ready to go to work. "Second uncle, will we get to eat croaking chickens every day from now on?" 3-year-old Chen Jianghe raised his innocent little face and asked. I was so amused that I burst out laughing and was just about to answer when Chen Jianghe gave her younger brother a disdainful look. "If we ate them every day, all the croaking chickens around here would be caught by second uncle. Where would there be so many?" I rubbed Chen Dongdong's round little head. "When second uncle has time, I'll go up the mountain and hunt wild game for you." His head was big and his body small, making him look malnourished. Hearing my words, he nodded hard. "Stay home and play with your sister. Don't run around." I put on my straw hat and went to the village collective yard, getting ready to drive the hand-crank tractor. Suddenly, I heard the village chief talking with several elders in the village, and what they were saying instantly caught my attention. "Village chief, our village brick kiln is going to be contracted out. How much money will each family get if it's contracted out? Will it be more than now? It should be, right?" The village chief wasn't sure. The village brick kiln's profits weren't stable, sometimes good and sometimes bad. When times were bad, there would be no profit for 10 days or half a month, and the village would even have to subsidize the workers. When there was no profit, it was a burden. And when there was profit, everyone was delighted. But it was as unpredictable as the weather. It's better to contract it out. Whether the bricks can be sold or not, we'll still get money, right? That's the logic. Hearing this, I became pretty sure they were very likely going to contract out the brick kiln. Once the village collective was dissolved next year and land was distributed to individual households, everyone's lives would be more hopeful. Once people were allowed to farm their own land, the gap between rich and poor widened, and more people built new houses. The brick kiln was a giant golden goose that laid golden eggs. Could I contract the brick kiln? I mulled it over, but the contract fee was no small sum. Where could I scrape together that much money? "Jianghe, what are you standing dazed in the doorway for? Hurry up and get to work." The village chief caught sight of me. "Village chief, I want to contract the brick kiln. Do you think I can do it? The village chief froze for a moment, looked me up and down, and waved his hand. Go, 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 stop joking around. I smiled and drove off in the hand-crank tractor. Yeah, the family was so poor the house was almost drafty on all four sides. How could we possibly have the money to contract the brick kiln? But this matter wasn't without a turning point. No matter what, I had to struggle for it a little. While out working, my mind was elsewhere, and I drove crookedly several times. The villagers working alongside me teased. Chen Jianghe must be lovesick, huh? He can't even do his work properly anymore. No way. Look at him getting all flustered. You're already 24. Hurry and ask your brother to help find you a wife. At your age, my kid was already old enough to buy soy sauce. Lu Huiwan, who was passing by carrying things, heard everyone teasing him. Seeing the second brother's flushed face, she thought it really was time to arrange a marriage for him. But with only that little bit of space at home, what girl would be willing to marry into the old Chen family? When she got back, she would have to discuss it properly with her husband. I absent-mindedly finished the day's work and, after signing in, was getting ready to head home. The village chief called out to stop me. Jianghe, your attitude toward work isn't good. Young people should have energy. Don't just drift through the day doing the bare minimum. Village chief, I understand. I'll still mark down 12 for you today, but if you're like this again tomorrow, I'll have to deduct your work points. I nodded repeatedly and said it wouldn't happen again. I knew the village chief only said that and wouldn't really deduct them. After all, I was the rare hand-crank tractor driver. Skilled workers like that were hard to find. When I got home, I saw my eldest brother, who had gotten back before me. Jianghe, come here a moment. My brother looked very serious. I thought to myself, could it be that he found out about my plan to contract the brick kiln? I followed my elder brother into the house, intending to come clean. Chapter 5 Hunting Game, but then I heard my elder brother say earnestly, Jianghe, you're not that young anymore. Your sister-in-law and I discussed it, and we're planning to arrange a marriage for you, so you can marry and have children sooner. That would put my mind at ease too. Don't worry, your brother wants you to start a family. It's not because we dislike having you live with us, and we don't mean to drive you away. Your sister-in-law feels the same. We wholeheartedly want what's best for you. You're getting older too. If you're always alone, people will gossip. Chen Jianghe steadied himself for a few seconds. So calling him over was for this matter. Big brother, I know you and sister-in-law treat me well, but I don't want to get married right now. With our family situation, how could any good girl possibly think highly of me? Besides, isn't Anir grown up now? You should use the little money you've saved to expand the house and make a room for Anir to live in. Hearing this, Chen Guangjin frowned, thought for a while, and said, You really don't want to marry a wife? No, I want to make something of myself first. All right then, I won't force you. I'll keep this money saved for you. Chen Jianghe wanted to say there was really no need. Right now, all he wanted was to work and make money. Getting a wife could wait. Since he couldn't persuade his brother, he would have to talk to his sister-in-law and have her help say a few words to make clear his determination not to marry and have children right now. Since he had already said the money they saved should be used to expand the house, there was absolutely no way he could bring up contracting the brick kiln again. Where was he supposed to get money? Chen Jianghe was troubled. The next day, Chen Jianghe went to work as usual. Jianghe, you get a day off. The tractor was borrowed by the neighboring village, so go home and rest today. Then what about my work points? Chen Jianghe asked. You earn 2 more work points a day than the others. Missing one day's points won't starve you. The words were rough, but they made sense. Wearing a straw hat, Chen Jianghe strolled leisurely out of the village collective courtyard. Once outside, he heard game animals on the mountain cooing, and a flash of inspiration struck him. Got it. He'd go up the mountain and hunt some game. Maybe if he got lucky, he could even catch something big and take it to the market to sell for a large sum. No sooner said than done. Chen Jianghe ran straight to Li Ergu. Ergu, lend me your gun. I'll trade you a pheasant for it. Chen Jianghe said in a low voice to Li Ergu. Li Ergu was originally somewhat unwilling to lend it to Chen Jianghe, but when he heard Chen Jianghe say he'd give him a chicken, he said, You said it, all right. If I don't get chicken to eat tonight, I won't lend it to you ever again. Don't worry, there'll definitely be one. You and me, we're close, aren't we? You don't believe me? After getting Chen Jianghe's assurance, Li Ergu spoke to the foreman, then took Chen Jianghe to get the gun. Jianghe, be careful with it. I'm lending it to you at the risk of getting beaten by my dad. I know. After saying that, Chen Jianghe dashed toward the mountain. The sounds of the game were very close to him, as if calling to him. In winter, there wasn't much green vegetation on the mountain. By relying on the sounds to determine the location, it was easy to find the exact position of the game. A tuft of red tail feathers was twitching in the dry grass. Chen Jianghe raised the musket, narrowed his eyes halfway, and fired at that patch of red. He never missed. It was a direct hit. Delighted, Chen Jianghe stepped forward and picked up the prey. All day long, Chen Jianghe searched the mountains and fields for prey. It would be great if he had a hunting dog, but people were barely able to feed themselves, so how could they afford to keep a dog? The idea of keeping a dog flashed through his mind and was quickly dismissed. After searching several rounds, his legs went weak from walking. He looked up at the sun overhead and saw that it was already tilting westward, as if it would set soon. If he didn't go back now, once it got dark, getting lost in the mountains would be very dangerous. A few years ago, someone chased a wild boar on the mountain and ended up losing their sense of direction, ran into a ferocious beast in the mountains, and was bitten until only a tiny bit of scalp was left. In the end, they identified him as the missing villager only by his clothes. Weighing the prey in his hands, Chen Jianghe revealed a satisfied smile. A dozen or so pheasants. He wasn't greedy, and that was enough. In fact, once night fell, there would be even more game, but also more danger. Forget it. He couldn't gamble with his life and luck. Carrying the game down the mountain, Chen Jianghe first went home to put away the prey he had caught, then set aside a pheasant to deliver to Liurgu. Then he went home and began preparing the game. He would keep some to eat himself and take some to the market to sell. For the portion he would eat himself, he could pluck the feathers and clean them one by one. Second uncle, these feathers are so pretty, even prettier than the feather duster at home, Chen and said as she touched the pheasant's tail. Chen Jianghe froze for a moment and instantly thought of a good idea. That's right, feathers can be used to make feather dusters. Once the feather dusters are made, they can also be taken to the market to exchange for money. Thinking of this, Chen Jianghe got to work at once, and in one go plucked all the tail feathers. But when it came time to make the feather duster, Chen Jianghe ran into trouble. No matter how he tied it, it felt wrong. Second uncle, are you making a feather duster? But the one you made is really ugly. Tilting her head, Chen Ernie spoke innocently. My mom knows how to make them. Go ask my mom. Okay. When Lu Huiwan came back from work, Chen Jianghe took a basket full of feathers to her. Sister-in-law, please do me a favor. Lu Huiwan saw the basket full of feathers. Where did so many feathers come from? I didn't go to work today. I went hunting in the mountains and caught quite a few pheasants. I was thinking these feathers might be used to make feather dusters, and then I can take them all to the market to sell. After hearing Chen Jianghe's words, the look in Lu Huijuan's eyes changed. She truly felt that this child had really grown up. He used to only know how to have fun. Aside from going to work, he never cared about anything at home. Now he's actually thinking about making money. Look at what I made. With that, Chen Jianghe took out the finished product he had made. Looking at the crooked, misshapen feather duster tied up like a zongzi, Lu Huiwan could no longer hold it in and burst into laughter, clutching her stomach. Mom, the feather duster second uncle made is so ugly. Chen and chimed in from the side. Chen Jianghe's face flushed red with embarrassment. As a rough-grown man, he hadn't done delicate handiwork in either of his 2 lifetimes. His hands were terribly clumsy, so it was already pretty good if what he made didn't fall apart. Let me teach you. Lu Huiwan put down what she was doing and patiently taught Chen Jianghe how to make a feather duster. After teaching him several times, Chen Jianghe still couldn't do it, and Lu Huiwan felt that she simply couldn't teach him. Just leave it here. I'll make it for you. When I'm done, you can take it to the market to sell. There happens to be a market tomorrow. Thanks for your trouble, sister-in-law. Chen Jianghe expressed his thanks. Go help tend the fire and cook the rice. When the rice is almost done, I'll stir-fry the dishes. He could still handle something simple, like tending the fire. Chen Jianghe happily went to help tend the fire. By the time Brother Chen returned, the meal at home was already prepared. When he learned that Chen Jianghe had caught game today, that the family would have meat to eat, and that Chen Jianghe was going to the market tomorrow to sell things, Brother Chen smiled and repeatedly praised Chen Jianghe. Receiving praise from his elder brother and sister-in-law, Chen Jianghe felt a little embarrassed. Back when he was young and ignorant, he had no idea how much trouble he had caused them. He really had been a burden of little use, dragging down his elder brother and sister-in-law for so many years. From now on, he was going to work hard for this family and do his best to help them. If only the village brick kiln could be contracted out. Chen Jianghe took half a day off to sell game at the market. In those days, there wasn't much meat to eat, and Chen Jianghe's game was very popular at the market and sold out before long. Clutching the money in his hand, Chen Jianghe thought of his hard-working elder brother and sister-in-law. Living at home, he had never even washed his own clothes, and his sister-in-law's hands, rough from work, had cracked open in who knew how many places. Thinking of this, Chen Jianghe headed straight for the supply and marketing cooperative. He bought 2 jeans of rice candy for the 2 children, shampoo paste, and 2 boxes of clam oil for his sister-in-law, and tobacco for his brother. By the time he went back, he was carrying a big bundle of things. After doing all this, he still had quite a bit of money left. The money in his pocket was far from enough to contract the brick kiln, but Chen Jianghe felt he could still struggle a bit. He was going to use his eloquence to persuade the village chief. In a relaxed mood and with light steps, Chen Jianghe returned to the village and first went to report to the collective courtyard. Buying things at the market had delayed him too long, and he had almost missed the afternoon's work, so he didn't go home first. Seeing that the village chief was also there, Chen Jianghe said to him, "Village chief, after work today, I want to talk to you about something. Wait for me." "Okay." The village chief agreed. Chen Jianghe drove the tractor out to work. No one had seen Chen Jianghe all day, and they couldn't help joking with him. "Jianghe, haven't seen you all day. Did you go on a blind date?" The village tractor was lent to the neighboring village, so the village chief gave me a day off. Chen Jianghe replied with a grin. TSK, having a skill really is nice. We can't even take a break when we want to. Yeah, he earns 2 more work points a day than we do. It's really enviable. If you had a high school education, you could drive a tractor too. You could do it as well. Everyone looked at one another and laughed so hard they doubled over. They were all illiterate. So what high school education were they talking about? Another day passed amid everyone's laughter and joking. Chen Jianghe drove the tractor back to the village collective courtyard, and seeing that the village chief was still waiting for him, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief. The village chief beckoned Chen Jianghe into the room to talk. "Sit down." Chen Jianghe sat down without ceremony. "Village chief, I'd like to discuss something with you." Chen Jianghe first laid some groundwork. "What is it?" "Go ahead. I want to contract the village brick kiln factory." Before Chen Jianghe could finish, the village chief interrupted him. "Contracting the brick kiln factory takes quite a bit of money. Do you have the money? Can I buy on credit?" Chen Jianghe asked. "Do you think contracting the brick kiln factory is child's play? Credit? Kid, you clearly don't really want to do this. Don't waste my time." The village chief got up to leave. Chen Jianghe grabbed him. "Village chief, please hear me out first. I don't have much money on hand right now. Could the first month's contract rent be a little less? And once I start making money, I'll make up the rest. Don't worry. If I can't earn it, I'll borrow it somehow." "Are you kidding? The village brick kiln factory is always contracted by the year, and the payment for a whole year has to be made in one go." Hearing this, Chen Jianghe's heart sank halfway, so it had to be paid off for the whole year at once. If it were settled once a month, he could still struggle a bit. Paying a whole year at once, there was no way he could scrape together that much money. Even if he asked his elder brother to take out the money saved for his wife, it still wouldn't be enough. "Think it over yourself. You're from our village, so I can do you a favor. You only need to pay me for half a year at one time. Figure out the rest yourself." "Okay, thank you, village chief." Walking out of the village collective courtyard, Chen Jianghe felt heavier than ever before. Money really was a wonderful thing. Right now, he had no capital at all. If he had even a tiny bit of seed capital, the road ahead would be much easier. Given his family circumstances, the brick kiln factory was out of the question. After persuading himself to completely let go of the idea of the brick kiln factory, Chen Jianghe felt much better. By the time he got home, it was already dark. Carrying gifts for his family, he pushed open the door. "Jianghe, you're back." "Sister-in-law." Hearing the sound of running water, Chen Jianghe froze for a moment. He wanted to step outside, but then he heard footsteps behind him. "Jianghe, your brother still isn't back. Why did you come home so late today too?" A burst of fragrance entered his nose, and Chen Jianghe slowly turned around. "Sister-in-law, I went to talk to the village chief for a while, so I came back a bit late." He saw that his sister-in-law was wearing thin clothes, with her wet hair hanging loose down her back. Her figure was delicate and shapely, and the sight made Chen Jianghe's face burn. Fortunately, the house had no electricity and was lit only by a kerosene lamp, the light dim. So his sister-in-law probably couldn't see the change in his face. "Sister-in-law, I bought you shampoo and clam oil." After saying that, Chen Jianghe tossed the things onto the table and ran off. Back in his own east room, he tried hard to calm himself down. Then he fiercely slapped himself across the face. That was his own sister-in-law. How could he have such improper thoughts about her? Wouldn't that make him even less human than Ximenqing? Just as Chen Jianghe was struggling inwardly, Lu Huizhuan's voice came from outside the door. "Jianghe, are you in the room?" "Yes, I am. Your brother still hasn't come back. Help me wring out the clothes, will you? I just washed all the clothes that I didn't wash yesterday, and if they're not wrung out, I'm afraid they won't dry easily." "Okay, I'll come right away." As he spoke, Chen Jianghe took a deep breath and pushed the door open as he walked out. There was moonlight outside. Chen Jianghe tried hard to avert his eyes and not look at his sister-in-law's body. Distracted, he helped her wring out the clothes. "Jianghe, That day when your brother and I argued. Don't take it to heart. I didn't mean to drive you away. Lu Huiwan kept feeling that something was off with Chen Jianghe. No, no. Chen Jianghe lowered his head, caught sight of something he shouldn't have seen, and began to stammer. Why are you stammering in front of your sister-in-law? Either yes or no. All these years, the money your brother has saved has been kept for you. An elder brother is like a father, and an elder brother's wife is like a mother. You've been with us all these years, and everything we've done has been for your sake. Don't worry about your marriage. We'll definitely find you a good match. After going around in circles, it came back to the topic of marriage again. He really had no intention of getting married now. Sister-in-law, I told my brother before that I don't want to get married yet. I'm still young. I want to earn money for a few more years and don't want to be burdened by a family. All right, since that's what you think, I won't try to persuade you anymore. Lu Huiwan shook her head helplessly. After hanging up the clothes, Chen family's elder brother also came back. The meal at home wasn't ready yet, so Chen Jianghe helped cook the rice and wash the vegetables, wanting to do what he could. Over the years, he had been a burden to his brother and sister-in-law. Honey, I'm back. Chen Haijun smiled and called into the house from the doorway. Mom, Dad's back, we can eat now. Chen and I turned back and shouted. Chen Haijun picked up Chen Dongdong, who was playing at the door, with his eldest daughter Chen and I following behind him. Just as he reached the doorway, Lu Huiwan pulled Chen Haijun aside and glanced toward the kitchen. Chen Haijun asked in a low voice, What's the matter, being so mysterious? What have you said to Jianghe lately? Jianghe's temperament has changed. As soon as he gets home, he wants to help with chores. Isn't it a good thing that he's helping? Was it better before, when he wouldn't even pick up a fallen soy sauce bottle? Chen Haijun asked in return. That's true, but she still felt that something was a little off. Lu Huiwan thought to herself. Is the meal ready? The straightforward Chen Haijun asked. He stepped forward and put Chen Dongdong down. It's ready. I'll go ladle some chicken soup from the pot. Lu Huiwan went into the kitchen to serve the chicken soup, while Chen Jianghe was sitting in front of the stove in a daze. Jianghe, your brother is back. Go eat. Chen Jianghe came back to his senses and helped serve the rice and dishes. He had never done these things before, and when his sister-in-law and brothers saw him bustling around, the way they looked at him changed. We're having meat again at home. I could smell the chicken from outside and thought it was another family's house. Chen Haijun said with a smile. Brother, I went up the mountain and caught wild chickens. I kept 2 for us to eat and sold the rest. As Chen Jianghe spoke, he turned around, picked up a package from the table, and handed it to his elder brother. This is tobacco I bought for you. Hearing this, Chen Haijun's eyes almost welled up. His little brother had finally grown sensible and knew to buy him something. He was about half a generation older than Chen Jianghe. Their parents had passed away early, and he had raised Chen Jianghe all by himself, acting as both father and mother. He had always felt somewhat guilty toward Chen Jianghe, feeling that he had failed to give him a good life. If their parents were still alive, life for the 2 brothers would surely be much better than it was now. Jianghe, your sister-in-law said you've changed, and I think so too. You've become sensible. That's wonderful. Brother, from now on I also have to take on the responsibility of supporting the family. I can't let the burden of the household rest on you alone. After saying that, Chen Jianghe took out the money he had earned from selling the game. Brother, you need to repair the house. Take this money. Jianghe, we can't take your money. Before Chen Haijun could speak, his sister-in-law Lu Huiwan spoke first, directly refusing Chen Jianghe's goodwill. That's right, your sister-in-law is correct. If we repair the house, we still have a little money on hand. You earned this money yourself, so keep it. A young man like you can't get by without money on hand. Chen Jianghe felt a mix of emotions. Fortunately, the point in time when he was reborn was still early enough, and he still had a chance to make amends, and to treat his brother and sister-in-law well. All right, then I'll keep it for now. When and Dongdong need money for school later, I'll take it out then. He knew his brother and sister-in-law's temperaments well. Since they had refused the money he gave, they definitely would not accept it. There was no use continuing to insist. The whole family finished dinner together in cheerful harmony. Chen Jianghe helped his sister-in-law clear up the bowls and chopsticks. Jianghe, you now earn 2 more work points than others when you go to work. These 2 extra work points must be making a lot of people jealous. With your current conditions, if you went looking for a good girl, you should be able to find one too. His elder brother stopped him, and once again it was about matchmaking. Chen Jianghe recalled his previous life. Around this same time, his elder brother had arranged a match for him, but that girl had not taken a liking to him at all. Her whole family made a huge fuss over it. Elder brother, forget it. I've said it before. Career first, marriage later. I'm not in a hurry to get married. I'm only 24 years old. Chen Haijun paused when he heard this, his eyes widening a little. 24 is not that young anymore. Once you're past 25, it won't be easy to find a wife. If a man is still unmarried past 30, he's basically going to be single for life. As more and more people said this many years later, it really did seem to be the case. Once you get older, it becomes very hard to find a good wife. Elder brother, don't worry, I'll definitely be able to find a wife in the future. With this handsome face of mine and my education, finding a wife won't be a problem. Chen Jianghe smiled and patted Chen Jianghe on the shoulder. You, aren't you embarrassed to praise yourself like that? I'm just telling the truth. What is there to be embarrassed about? Chen Jianghe said righteously. He was very confident in his looks. Good, good. It's best that you're confident. Chen Jianghe stood up. Get some rest early. You still have to work tomorrow. Okay. Chen Jianghe agreed with a smile. He returned to bed and lay down. Another day had passed. The next day, when he went to work, Chen Jianghe finished early. Seeing that it was still early, he borrowed Li Ergu's hunting rifle and went up the mountain to hunt. Rabbits are nice and plump in winter. The last time he went up the mountain, he had noticed several rabbit holes. Bringing tinder with him, he planned to smoke the holes and force the rabbits out of their burrows before hunting them. After making his preparations, Chen Jianghe headed up the mountain with the hunting rifle. These days, everyone was busy earning work points, and very few people had the leisure to go hunting in the mountains like he did, so the wild animals in the mountains had multiplied unchecked. After only a few steps, he came across a rabbit burrow near the hillside, with loose dirt holes dug out by rabbits everywhere. The traces around one burrow looked especially fresh, with signs that it had been covered with a pile of grass. One look was enough to tell it was an entrance rabbits frequently used. He might even catch baby rabbits. Chen Jianghe took out the straw he had prepared in advance, pulled out some matches, carefully lit the straw, placed it at the rabbit hole entrance, and fanned the smoke inside. Before long, the smoke followed the tunnel and entered the burrow. In less than 2 minutes, a gray figure suddenly shot out from an opening not far from him. Chen Jianghe reacted swiftly, raised the gun, aimed, and hit it in one smooth motion. Looking at the rabbit struggling on the ground, Chen Jianghe curled his lips into a smile and patted the dust off his legs. He had a catch right from the start. His luck was pretty good today. After putting out the fire, Chen Jianghe walked over to the rabbit and picked it up. Just as he was about to turn and leave, he heard movement in the grass. He turned and walked toward it, and saw a little gray rabbit eating grass at the entrance of the burrow, still unaware of what had happened. Overjoyed, Chen Jianghe scooped up the rabbit and put it into his bamboo basket. A rabbit gives birth to at least 4 or 5 babies at a time, so there had to be other baby rabbits in this nest. Chen and Chen Dongdong would definitely love the little rabbits. No sooner said than done. Chen Jianghe took out a small hoe and started digging at the rabbit burrow. When he had dug nearly a meter deep, he reached his hand in and felt a furry little animal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chen Jianghe counted them, and together with the one already in his bamboo basket, there were a full 6 baby rabbits. 2 of them hadn't even opened their eyes yet. His luck was really good today. This made Chen Jianghe beam with joy. After packing up his things, Chen Jianghe continued searching for prey. Suddenly, a cooing sound came from the mountain, and Chen Jianghe bent forward and excitedly moved closer. A brightly colored pheasant was dancing in the grass, trying to attract a female. Such a good thing delivered right to his door, savoring the taste of pheasant meat in his mind. Chen Jianghe raised his gun and fired with a bang. He had excellent aim and hit the wing at once. The pheasant flapped about, still trying to fly away. Chen Jianghe stepped forward, grabbed it, and stuffed it into the bamboo basket, all in one smooth motion. After only 1 hour on the mountain, he already had a rich haul. After that, it was as if Chen Jianghe had a cheat code on. Wherever he went, he ran into prey. It wasn't until evening, when the sun was about to set, that Chen Jianghe reluctantly headed down the mountain for home. If he could really have such a bountiful harvest every day like today, why would he keep driving a hand-crank tractor? He might as well carry a musket up the mountain and hunt directly. Part of the game he caught could be sold for money, and part kept to eat himself. The game he kept for himself to eat could also have its first sold for money. However, Chen Jianghe knew very well that after some time, there would be fewer animals on the mountain, and it would be hard to find any trace of them. No one had to go to work, so they had more free time, and everyone was thinking of going up the mountain to look for some wild game for a treat. As soon as Chen Jianghe returned to the courtyard, Chen and Chen Dongdong ran up and bounced around him. Excitedly looking at the bamboo basket on Chen Jianghe's back, they had spotted chicken feathers. Dad, second uncle is back. We get to eat meat again. Sister-in-law Lu Huiwan walked out, all smiles as she said, Jianghe, you caught another pheasant? Just one, to make soup for Nir and Dongdong. The rest are all rabbits. Elder brother Chen Jianghe came out of the house. Rabbits are good. The rabbit skins can be sold for money. And if they're made into rabbit fur gloves, they'll fetch even more. When we were working last year, Lu Guoli got a pair of rabbit fur gloves and showed them off in front of me. A pair of gloves costs 1 yuan. I don't know how to make rabbit fur gloves, so I'll have to trouble sister-in-law. The two brothers looked at Lu Huiwan full of hope. Lu Huiwan smiled and said, "Don't look at me. I can't make them either. Jianghe, go ask sister-in-law Yuzhu next door. She's skillful with her hands and should know how to make gloves. Once they're made, give her some labor pay, and she'll definitely be willing to help." Okay, I'll go find sister-in-law Yuzhu tomorrow. That very night, Chen Jianghe skinned the rabbits and cleaned them. The rabbit meat would be left for now and taken to sell when the market day came. The market was held once every 5 days, so he would have to wait several more days. Before going to work in the morning, Chen Jianghe saw the rabbit meat hanging in the house. "Jianghe, why didn't you take it out to sell sooner? If you leave it too long, I'm afraid the taste won't be good. It'll still be a few days before the market day in town." Chen Jianghe said, "Let's sell it in the city. The city has a market every day, and the selling price is higher there." Chen Jianghe froze for a moment. How had he not thought of taking it to the city to sell? In the city, it could be sold for a better price and earn more. City people had money and were willing to spend on food and clothing, while those in town were just country folk living off their daily work points. How could they be as generous as city people? No sooner said than done. Chen Jianghe happily ran off to ask the village chief for leave. The urgent work had mostly been finished recently, so the village chief didn't make things difficult for him and readily agreed. "Kid, have you taken a fancy to some family's daughter lately? You're asking for leave every now and then." With his glib tongue, Chen Jianghe replied with a grin, "Village chief, if I do take a fancy to some family's daughter, if this works out, you'll be the first person I invite to the wedding feast. Chen Jianghe, you'd better remember that. When the time comes, you must invite me." Chen Jianghe thought to himself, there's not even the faintest sign of it yet. He hadn't even seen the girl yet. The village chief would probably have to wait 3 to 5 years for that wedding banquet. After packing up the rabbit meat, Chen Jianghe walked out of the house and got on the shabby bus headed for the city. The rural dirt road was full of potholes, jolting every few steps, almost shaking up the breakfast in his stomach. It was his first time taking a bus and going out since returning to 79. Chen Jianghe looked at the scenery outside the window. Low houses, and the tallest building was only 3 stories high. Who could have imagined that after just a few decades of development, there would be high-rises dozens or even over 100 stories tall? Transportation became much more convenient too. Before he passed away, every village already had cement roads. Jinshan town had arrived. At the conductor's call, passengers carrying big and small bags poured out. Chen Jianghe was carrying a large bag of things in his hand and got off last. The old street scene was full of memories. He stood at the street corner and looked around. He could barely remember where the old market used to be. So he casually stopped a passerby to ask for directions, and only then did Chen Jianghe head toward the market. By the time he arrived, the market was bustling with people. Hanging up his fresh rabbit meat, Chen Jianghe shouted all the way, "Rabbit meat for sale. Fresh wild rabbit meat." As Chen Jianghe called out, people came over from time to ask, but none of them intended to buy. Chen Jianghe could tell at a glance who genuinely wanted to buy and who was just asking out of curiosity. "Young man, how much is your rabbit meat?" 5 yuan each, Chen Jianghe replied. "That's almost the price of an old hen. Too expensive, too expensive." The middle-aged man asking the price repeatedly said it was too pricey. Chen Jianghe smiled and explained, "Brother, you can often eat old hens, and ordinary households usually raise them. But my wild rabbit meat is not something you see often. I just got lucky and stumbled upon a rabbit warren. Otherwise, where would there be rabbit meat to sell? It's cold now, and nothing is more comforting than a bowl of rabbit soup. You look like a wealthy man. Spending a little money to try something new is worth it. All right, I'll buy 2. City people really were straightforward and didn't haggle at all. Chen Jianghe happily took the money and tucked it into his pocket. There were also many thieves these days, so Chen Jianghe carefully put away the money he had received, then patted it again, only then feeling at ease. There were still 5 rabbits left. At 5 yuan each, that made 25. Adding the 10 yuan he had just received, that was 35 yuan in total, more than what hard work in the countryside could earn in a whole month. "Hey, you selling rabbits? How much are the rabbits?" A young man with a straw stem in his mouth walked over. Behind him followed 2 lean young fellows about the same age as him. Judging by the way the 3 carried themselves, Chen Jianghe thought to himself that he had run into local hoodlums. "Brother, 5 yuan each, small business," Chen Jianghe said politely. 5 yuan, that expensive? Why don't you just go rob people?" As he spoke, The petty thug reached for the meat hanging from Chen Jianghe's wooden pole. "Brother, you haven't paid yet." Chen Jianghe quickly protected his rabbit meat. If the rabbit meat fell into the hands of hoodlums and ruffians, there would be no way to get it back. One of the lackeys following behind the petty thug rushed forward and said angrily to Chen Jianghe, "Why don't you go ask around about our brother Biao? Does our brother Biao need to pay when he buys things?" Everyone gives brother Biao some face. Who doesn't know this stretch is under brother Biao's protection? If you set up a stall here, you have to pay protection money. After saying that, he held out his hand toward Chen Jianghe. Chen Jianghe deliberately played dumb. "What do you mean? Are you an idiot? Of course it means pay up." They had already seen clearly from a distance just now that the rabbit seller had just collected 10 yuan. "Brother, I don't have any money," Chen Jianghe said with a miserable face. "Cut the crap. I saw you take the money." So they had had their eyes on him from the start, but there was no way he was giving them this money. If it really came to blows, he could take on 3 by himself. Young and strong as he was, would he be afraid of 3 hoodlums who looked like opium addicts? As he spoke, the little thug reached to fish money off Chen Jianghe. The people around them looked at Chen Jianghe with sympathy. Few who got entangled with these thugs managed to get away smoothly. More and more people gathered to watch. Chen Jianghe clutched his pants tightly, while also guarding against the thugs making off with the rabbit meat. "Young man, just give him the rabbit meat. You can't win against him." An old man who was often bullied by the thugs walked up behind Chen Jianghe and whispered to him, "Hear that? Either hand over the money or hand over the rabbit meat." The thug called Brother Biao glared fiercely at Chen Jianghe. "This is Brother Biao's turf. Everyone knows the rules. Just ask around. Who here dares not follow them?" One of the lackeys tugged at Chen Jianghe's pants as he spoke to him. "Big brother, I really didn't make any money. My family is poor, and we're counting on this little bit of money to live." He knew playing pitiful would not be much use. He only wanted to use it to distract the group, so that once the 3 thugs let their guard down, he could make a quick escape. There was no way he was handing over the money, and he absolutely could not give them the rabbit meat either. Even if he couldn't sell it, it would still be good to take it back for Anir and Dong Dong to eat. "You think you're miserable?" The thug sneered. "Which one of us here isn't miserable? Your grandpa here hasn't even had breakfast today, so hand over the money." All 3 thugs joined in trying to snatch the money, while Chen Jianghe clutched his money pouch tightly. "The people from the Industry and Commerce Office are here. Run, everyone. The people from the Industry and Commerce Office are here to confiscate things." A shout spread through the crowd. The peddlers doing business scattered in all directions. The thugs still held on to Chen Jianghe, but Chen Jianghe was no longer flustered. "Perfect timing that the people from the Industry and Commerce Office are here. You're charging fees at random, and I'm going to tell them to arrest you." The little thug glanced back, then shoved Chen Jianghe viciously. "You're lucky today, but just wait till next time." The 3 thugs hurried off and disappeared around the corner. Chen Jianghe straightened his clothes. His pants had nearly been yanked off. Luckily, today he had used 2 strips of cloth as a belt, so they were nice and secure. "Do you have a livestock sales permit?" He had just pulled up his pants when a voice behind him asked. No sooner had 3 left than more arrived. Chen Jianghe turned around humbly. "I just got here. I came here to look for someone. Those thugs almost stole my rabbit meat just now. I'm not here to sell anything. If I really were here selling things, why wouldn't I have run?" The person from the Industry and Commerce Office looked him up and down. "Where did these rabbits come from?" "I raised them at home. A relative wanted to eat some, so I brought them over specially. You can go." Chen Jianghe was stunned for a moment, not expecting it to go so smoothly. He had thought he would be questioned some more and have to say all kinds of nice things. There were hardly any vendors left on the street, and almost all the customers had gone too. With only a few scattered pedestrians still on the street, it was obviously no longer feasible to keep setting up a stall there. He still had 5 rabbits left unsold. Was he just going to go back like this? No, he had to sell all the rabbits. Chen Jianghe carried the heavy rabbit meat, and the sun overhead was blazing hot. The winter sun was almost catching up to summer, and wearing his thick cotton-padded jacket made him sweat all over. Right, there are factories nearby. He could go sell at the factory gates. The workers at the textile mill earned high monthly wages and wouldn't care about spending this little bit of money. No sooner said than done. Carrying the rabbit meat on a shoulder pole, Chen Jianghe hurried to the factory gate just in time for the factory to get off work, with the workers heading home at noon for lunch. Chen Jianghe displayed the fresh rabbit meat, skinned rabbits hanging neatly one by one from the pole like candied hawthorns. "Little brother, how much are you selling the rabbit meat for?" A plump middle-aged woman stepped forward to ask. 5 yuan 50 per rabbit. If you buy more, I can make it a bit cheaper." "If I buy one, can it be cheaper?" Chen Jianghe pretended to be a little unwilling. "Sai, since it's my first sale of the day, I'll charge you 5 yuan. What do you think?" "Okay." The middle-aged woman looked left and right, picked out a rabbit she thought looked bigger, and left. Chen Jianghe felt that all the rabbits were about the same size, so he set a flat price of 5 yuan each. Rabbits, 5 yuan 50 each, cheap sale. Chen Jianghe shouted out loudly. In no time, he sold 3 more. Only the last one remained, and Chen Jianghe would just sell it if fate allowed. Fewer and fewer textile factory workers were going home for lunch, so Chen Jianghe did not hold out much hope. He was getting ready to pack up and go home. He would leave this last one for his family to eat. Young man, how much is the rabbit meat? Chen Jianghe turned around and saw a middle-aged man in a Zhongshan suit, his hair combed impeccably, walking toward him. In those days, most people who wore Zhongshan suits were cadres on the state payroll. End of day sale. Only the last one left, selling it cheap, 5 yuan each. How many have you sold today? The middle-aged man asked. Not many. There aren't many rabbits at home. Chen Jianghe became more wary, worried that this man, like the hoodlums from before, had bad intentions. This is the last one. Do you want to buy it? If you do, I'll get it for you. I'm in a hurry to go home for lunch. This morning, in order to catch the early bus, I just ate a little of yesterday's leftovers to make do. And now my stomach was growling with hunger. I do. As he spoke, the middle-aged man took out money and handed it to Chen Jianghe. Look at the newspaper. Right now the country is vigorously promoting individual businesses. You should get yourself a storefront and apply for a permit. That's much better than peddling from street to street like this. Chen Jianghe took the newspaper, and the headline was about the country's new policy. I want a storefront too, but I don't have the money. My family is poor, so for now I'll just sell from street to street like this. As Chen Jianghe spoke, he handed the rabbit meat to the middle-aged man. Here you go, it's a bit heavy. The middle-aged man held the rabbit meat and weighed it in his hand. This must be 4 or 5 jin, right? It should be. I haven't weighed it, and I didn't bring a scale out with me. I sell by the piece, 5 yuan each. Not bad, not bad. Young people really are clever. Saves trouble. The middle-aged man praised him. I'm just earning some hard-earned money. It's nothing compared to you. One look at you, and it's obvious you're an official. After hearing that, the middle-aged man burst into laughter. Your rabbits are good. Develop this well. It has a lot of potential. Sir, I won't keep talking with you. I have to go home. If I'm any later, I'm afraid I won't make the noon bus. There are 3 buses a day back to the village, morning, noon, and evening. If I miss the noon one, I'll have to wait until 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Otherwise, I'll have to walk back. With money in my pocket, walking isn't safe. All right, I won't hold you up. Chen Jianghe said goodbye to the older man, while thinking over what the middle-aged man had said. The country is vigorously promoting the individual economy. If he got into some breeding business or opened a small shop, wouldn't that make money? Raising livestock requires skill. It's not enough to just raise them casually. And opening a shop required careful thought about what to sell. Sales channels and customer traffic also had to be taken into account. Every path seemed simple, but in reality none of them was simple at all. Except for the village brick kiln, that was a ready-made way to make money. No worries about sales, no worries about technology, and after taking over the contract, there would already be workers in place. As for the half-year contract funds, he couldn't come up with a single cent. When Chen Jianghe got home, he suddenly realized he had forgotten to bring something back for the family. So when he reached the town, he got off the bus. He first went to buy each family member a piece of cloth. These days it was fashionable to make your own clothes. He had heard his sister-in-law say that Sister Yuzhu next door was skillful and could make clothes. Remembering that Nir and Dongdong's clothes had gotten too small and needed replacing. Red and blue corduroy fabric was most suitable for making children's outerwear. After buying the fabric, Chen Jianghe went to the candy shop. Boss, give me 2 jin of malt candy. Children love malt candy. He remembered that when he was little, he craved malt candy the most. After tasting it once, he could never forget it. But his family was poor, and the money had to be saved for his schooling, so he only got to eat it a few times a year. Now that he had the means, he could satisfy the children's wishes as much as possible. All right, 2 jin of malt candy, here you go. Taking the weighed malt candy from the shopkeeper, Chen Jianghe paid, and then went to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy clam oil. This time, the clam oil was bought for sister-in-law Yuzhu. He felt too embarrassed to go directly to sister-in-law Yuzhu. After his own sister-in-law asked her, she readily agreed to help make rabbit fur gloves. Sister-in-law Yuzhu had to go out every day to earn work points. And after coming back, she still had to stay up late making rabbit fur gloves for him. He couldn't let her do it for nothing. He had to pay her. After buying things for his family, Chen Jianghe hurried home with light steps. The town was not far from the village. After walking for about 30 or 40 minutes, he arrived. His sister-in-law was at home, and Chen Jianghe took out the things he had bought for the family. Sister-in-law, I think these fabrics look nice. Make 2 sets of nice clothes for Nir and Dongdong. The 2 children are always wearing other people's hand-me-downs, especially Nir. At 7 or 8 years old, she already has her own opinions and sense of beauty. If she goes out dressed too ugly, she'll feel too embarrassed to hold her head up. Jianghe, you've spent money again. You should save your money to get married. Don't spend it recklessly. Lu Huiwan said reproachfully, but her face was full of delighted smiles. She was also happy that her younger brother-in-law was fond of his nephew and niece. Sister-in-law, how can spending money on family be considered wasting it? You are my closest family, so it's only right for me to treat you well. My brother and sister-in-law are both good people, and they have lived with him all these years without any major conflicts. When problems arose, the whole family was very united. He felt happy when he treated Nir and Dongdong a little better. Sister-in-law, didn't you say sister-in-law Yuju is very skillful? Could you ask her to help make a few new clothes for the 2 children? And those rabbit fur gloves from last time? I still haven't taken the rabbit pelts over. So I'll go ask her now. Jianghe, isn't it not so good for us to keep troubling her like this? Lu Huiwan said. It's fine, I'll pay her. As he spoke, Chen Jianghe was about to take the fabric next door to find sister-in-law Yuju. Jianghe, eat first and then go. No need. I'll go ask now and eat when I come back. Holding the fabric, along with the dried rabbit pelts and clam oil, Chen Jianghe knocked on the next door. Who is it? Coming. It's me, Chen Jianghe. As soon as his words fell, the courtyard gate opened. A beautiful woman with a long braid stood at the door with a smile on her face. Jianghe, you've come to ask me to make rabbit fur gloves for you, right? Your sister-in-law told me about it. Come in. Okay. Chen Jianghe carried the fabric and rabbit pelts into the courtyard. The small courtyard was clean and tidy, with some pickled vegetables drying in the middle. Sister-in-law Yuju, I'd like to trouble you with one more thing. I heard them say that you used to be a tailor and know how to make clothes. Could you help make a few small garments for my nephew and niece? Here's the fabric. Worried that sister-in-law Yuju might refuse, Chen Jianghe paused and then continued. Sister-in-law, don't worry, I'll pay you. I can't let you help me work for nothing. Sister-in-law Yuju smiled and said, what do I need your money for? Your brother and sister-in-law have helped me quite a lot over the years. As she spoke, she pointed to the pickled vegetables drying outside. See that? Those pickled vegetables were given to me by your sister-in-law. Chen Jianghe's brother and sister-in-law were good people. Knowing that it was not easy for her, a childless widow, to live in the village, they often helped her. She always kept in her heart the help that Chen Haijun and his wife had given her. Now that Chen Jianghe had come to ask her for help today, there was no way she would accept any wages. It's just making a few small clothes. What wages would I need? You just need to call Nir and Dongdong over so I can measure their waists and such. Okay, I'll go call them over right now. Chen Jianghe ran home and brought the 2 children over. Hearing that they were going to get new clothes made, both children were very excited. Yu Yuju took out a soft measuring tape and measured the 2 children. All right, you can go play now. Go on and play. Chen Jianghe smiled and took out the clam oil. Sister-in-law Yuju, this is the clam oil I bought for you. Since you won't accept my wages, I feel bad about it. If I hunt any game in the future, I'll bring some to you. Jianghe, I really can't take your things. Yu Yuju tried to stuff the clam oil into Chen Jianghe's pocket. Chen Jianghe dodged and quickly ran into the courtyard. Sister-in-law Yuju, that's my gift to you. Hey, Jianghe, stop right there. Yu Yuju chased him all the way to the doorway, but there was no sign of Chen Jianghe anywhere. Holding the warm clam oil in her hands, she shook her head helplessly. If she returned it again, it would make her seem petty. But if she accepted it, she would feel bad about it. The Chen family had helped her a lot over the years. Chen Jianghe had only asked her to do this little favor, so how could she have the nerve to accept a gift? After a round of inner struggle, Yu Yuju went back into the house and began measuring and cutting the fabric to make the clothes. Chen Jianghe returned home and waited for his elder brother to come back before starting the meal. Second uncle, will I have new clothes to wear from now on? Chen and Nir looked up and asked Chen Jianghe. Yes, you'll have new clothes to wear. I get new clothes too, right? Chen Dongdong asked next. Lu Huiwan came out of the kitchen. Yes, both of you do. You and your sister will each get one, and you'd better properly thank your second uncle. If it weren't for your second uncle, you'd have to wait until the new year to get new clothes. Thank you, second uncle. The 2 children thanked him in crisp voices. What are you thanking me for? Did you eat the malt candy I brought back for you? The 2 kids shook their heads and looked at their mother expectantly. Lu Huiwan said with a smile, we're about to eat, so I put it away. After dinner, I'll take it out for you to eat. Each of you can only have one small piece a day. Once it's gone, it's gone. The 2 children nodded obediently. After it's gone, second uncle will buy you more. Chen Jianghe picked up Chen Dongdong. Thank you, second uncle. Second uncle, did you make a lot of money? Chen Dongdong asked innocently. The question made Chen Jianghe burst into laughter. He also wanted to make a lot of money, but right now he had only earned 1 month's income, which didn't count as making big money. It could only be said that he was better off than most people, but this had come from luck and would not last long.